It's a spy apparatus for China.
President Trump's not going to let that happen.
The list goes on.
The owner of TikTok,
If you win that case and you get,
I think we're going to get a $25 billion with the B dollar judgment.
I don't know what I think about TikTok. We have a massive TikTok presence, but I mean, it seems like whenever I bring my intelligence friends on here and then we talk about it, it's a spy apparatus for China. And so I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was, from a legal perspective, it was really fascinating that Congress passed that divestment bill, basically saying that the owner of TikTok had to sell it under certain conditions by a certain time. And Congress in passing the bill, the president in signing the bill, really made a national security decision, to comport with exactly what you're saying, that this, as long as it's a Chinese asset, they're gathering data and spying on us without our consent, and that's dangerous. The owner of TikTok challenged the constitutionality of that divestment bill on the eve of the deadline by which he had to sell the asset, and went all the way to the United States Supreme Court and basically argued the same as in the net choice decision that was handed down this summer, saying, look, I got a First Amendment right to speak on this platform as the owner of this platform. And the court said, no. You have a First Amendment right to speak, but the people's elected representatives can make a foreign policy decision, a national security decision, and prevent you from speaking on this outlet. In other words, the government can't stop me from sending an email, but the corporation can certainly tell me I can't use this email account. Mm-hmm. And so it's a really unique legal decision and legal landscape in which that was done. I am concerned clearly about Chinese infiltration into our culture and into big tech social media companies like TikTok. And so I think that, again, I think Congress made a sound decision. And now President Trump's, doing his best to navigate that. And I'm confident in his ability to produce a good outcome. I mean, we have a leader back in the White House that understands that you can't show weakness on the playground. If you show weakness, the bullies will just keep bullying you, and President Trump's not going to let that happen.
I mean, it seems like China is using our own laws against us, not just with TikTok, but buying farmland, putting power plants next to military bases. I mean, the list goes on, but I mean, you seem to be pretty previous with this.
Well, and Shawn, just this week, on Monday, my office went to trial in the first ever lawsuit of its kind, in a lawsuit against the Chinese Communist government for the harm they inflicted on Missourians during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think we're going to get a $25 billion with the B dollar judgment against the Chinese Communist government. No other state has prosecuted a case like this. And we filed it. The trial court initially dismissed it, and we took it up to we appealed it to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, got the case reinstated, and we're just in trial this last Monday. We've got a little bit of supplemental briefing to do, but I think we'll be submitting a proposed judgment that the judge will sign, and then it'll be up to us to execute that judgment against the Chinese government. But no, Missouri leading the way on this issue. The Missourians are still demanding justice for the harms of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so, and look, people say, Bailey's crackpot legal theories. No. This is the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. It was a statute passed by the people's elected representatives in Congress in 1976 that specifically creates a method by which states can sue foreign entities for damages. And that's what we've used, and I think we'll be successful.
Man, that's amazing. So when you sue the federal government or the Chinese Communist Party, I mean, this is a question I have because I've seen you've sued a lot. And if you win that case and you get the state of Missouri gets $25 billion, where does that money go? What's it allocated to?
Well, the first thing, and again, this is all part of the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. It creates a method by which you can execute a judgment against a foreign entity. We've got to identify, and we are working to identify assets that the Chinese Communist government owns in Missouri and elsewhere. And we will work with the Marshal Service to seize those assets. They will be sold, and then that money will be returned to the people of the state of Missouri. And it'll have to be appropriated by the people's elected representatives in our General Assembly. And I keep saying the people's elected representatives because it's a rule of law issue for me. The democratic process means means something. It's not we don't live in a totalitarian dictatorship, unlike in China. Here the way we get things done is that the people elect representatives who then pass laws, and in the executive branch we then enforce those laws. And so I realize I'm being repetitive using that term, but it's important for me to emphasize that point because I want folks to understand that that they've had a voice in this process that has led us to this point.
Okay. So whether it's the federal government, whether it's the Chinese Communist Party, whether it's big tech, whoever it is, the money gets allocated to the people.
That's right.
Eventually. That's amazing. I'm sure Missouri could use another $25 billion.
Yeah, I mean, we've always got roads that are deteriorating, or our law enforcement needs additional assets and resources to shore up our criminal justice system, and so I look forward to continuing to push that case forward to its eventual success.
I hope it happens. I hope it happens. Last thing, real quick, before we get started here, everybody gets a gift. It's our Vigilance Elite gummy bears, full of poison, toxic dyes, lots of sugar, but they taste good. They're made here in the USA. They're actually made in Michigan. So
Love it. Appreciate it, man.
everybody
Thank
gets
you.
one of those.
Thank
Except the doctors. I don't give the doctors those. They're always, yeah. They don't like food dyes. I don't either, but those are
I like
good.
gummy bears.
I will make an exception for those. But so let's move in. I want to move into your life story.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
Grew up in Columbia, Missouri. It's a college town right there in central Missouri. At the time, in the early 90s that I was a kid, it was a town of about 50, 60,000 people. It's now grown to, north of 100,000 people. But at the time, it was a, medium-sized town. It had a small town feel. I mean, we saw a newspaper boy deliver newspapers at the end of the day, milkman deliver milk in the mornings. But we had a lot of cultural influence because the state's flagship university, the University of Missouri, is there in Columbia. So a lot of cultural experiences that other smaller towns maybe wouldn't get exposed to, but a great place to grow up. And, I have a younger brother, who's also now an attorney. And my mom and dad raised us to love the United States of America and love our state and, to be patriotic, and to why we have a constitution, and that the rights in the Constitution come from God, not man. The Constitution is intended to protect us from the government. The government's supposed to protect our rights. So those are foundational principles that I grew up with in mid-Missouri.
What were you into as a kid? Buddy downstairs, who's on your staff, says you were basically born. You were a born Captain America.
That might be overselling it a bit. Yeah, I was a Boy Scout, was an Eagle Scout. I enjoyed fishing, enjoyed hunting, spent a lot of time in the outdoors. Played different sports, but in high school got really into high school debate, and so was on the debate team in high school. And I grew up and got a little rowdy in high school, maybe. And my mom, I wanted to join the military, and I just
Really? What do you mean rowdy?
Well, just
You're a partier? I grew up in Missouri. There's not a whole lot to do.
there's not a whole lot to do as a youth. Yeah.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.